All right, guys, so we're back. And as I was saying that when we are solving a quadratic equation, by factors, if we're solving by factors, we generally want to bring everything on one side of the equation and equate it to 0, right? And once you bring everything on one side and then you simplify it, then you can factorize it. And based on this, we could use the method of AC. Now, we're not going to be going through the factorization process, because this is something that you would have learned and would have been practicing. But just for the benefit of refreshing your memory, I'm going to just work through this one by going through the factorization method. So if you're using the AC techniques to factorize, then remember the A would be the number in front, the x squared, and the C would be the last number. So AC is simply multiplying the coefficient of the x squared by the last term, which is C. So AC would be equal to 2 times -15. And the key thing here is that we want to find two factors that when we multiply 2 times 15, we want to find two factors that when we add them, we get -7x, right? Now, there are some key features of this based on the signs that we have to recall. If your last term is a negative value, you know that the two factors you're looking for, one of them going to be negative and one going to be positive, right? Now, if this was a positive, then you would consider that the two factors would be either two positives or two negatives. So remember that this sign of the last term help to determine what the two factors are that they're searching for in terms of their signs, right? So we want two factors. All right, so we generally would multiply 2 times 15 and then now find two factors of -30, because 2 times 15 will give you a -30. So two numbers that you multiply to get 30, when you add them, you get 7. The last term being negative tell you that one of them going to be a negative and one of them going to be a positive. The larger one will be the sign of the middle term. So which two numbers you can multiply to get -30? And when you add them, you get -7.
3 and 10, sir.
3 and 10. So the two factors here would be 3 and 10. Which of them would be positive and which would be negative?
Positive 3 and -10, sir.
Right, so positive 3 and -10. So once you identify the signs, the correct signs, all we have to do now is to write these in the form of summing them and putting them, instead of putting -7x, we're going to put plus 3x minus 10x. Take 7x and replace it with plus 3x minus 10x. So this would give us 2x squared. And then we would have plus 3x minus 10x. And then we write back the minus 15. And remember now, this is an equation, so you have to equate it back to 0. All right, let's get this out of the way. So now, once we write it like this, now that we have it in 4 terms, we are going to factorize by grouping. Now we take the first pair and see what is common. What is the factor common here? Anybody? Factor common here.
X, sir.
x. So we pull out the x. So x into 2x squared give you 2x. X into 3x give you plus 3. And for this one over here, we have negative 10x minus 15. What is common here?
Negative 5, sir.
Will be negative 5. So we pull out negative 5 as our common factor. Negative 5 into negative 10x will give you positive 2x. And negative 5 into negative 15 will give you positive 3. Right. And then now keep equating this to 0. Don't forget about that. Now, to completely factorize this, then we pull out the brackets, which is common, which is the 2x plus 3. And then now we group what is outside those brackets, which is the x minus 5. We put them in one bracket by themselves. All right, so that's how we would factorize and reach to this point. All right, guys. So that is just a recap of what you should have been practicing. All right, so this part of it, you will have to refresh your brain up of how to go about factorizing. All right, so from here now, we have two factors. Now each bracket is a factor. And what we are doing, we are multiplying these two factors together to get 0. But based on what we know, when we're multiplying two factors and we get 0, what was the conclusion that we made? Anybody?
One of the numbers equate to 0, sir.
Right. So in other words, what we want to say is one of these brackets going to be 0. So either 2x plus 3 equals 0 or x minus 5 equals 0. We don't know which one of them is 0, but what we're going to do, we're going to write them separately. So we're going to equate each of these brackets to 0, or each of the expressions within the bracket to 0, and then solve them separately. All right, so that's what we'll be doing. So we're going to say either 2x plus 3 equal to 0, or x minus 5 equal to 0. So now we're going to say when 2x plus 3 equal to 0. Let me clear what is happening here. When 2x plus 3 equals 0, so we're dealing with the first case. What we know, we can solve this for x. So we're simply just going to bring across a 3. So we'll get 2x equal to negative 3. And we divide both sides by 2. And so we'll get 2 cancel, 2. And so x will be equal to negative 3 over 2. All right, so that would be one value for x. So that's when 2x plus 3 equals 0. So the next thing we want to say now is when x minus 5 equal to 0. All right, so we'll say after we, all right, let me clear what I have written here. So after we solve this and get x equal to negative 3 over 2, then now we look at when x minus 5 equal to 0. And so we just bring the negative 5 on the right-hand side, so x will be positive 5. And so our two values for x then will be either x equal to -3/2 or x is equal to 5. So these are the two possible, solutions that you can get for the value of x. Is that clear, guys? So this is solving using factorization technique. All right, so let us look at some more examples. Now, here we have another one. I am going to give you a chance to solve this one on your own. So factorize this one and solve it, and then I'll give you the solution. But when you solve it, just raise your hand, guys. All right, I'll give you about 2 or 3 minutes to do this. So you may begin. All right, you finished, Ms. Wilson? All right, so I am taking that Ms. Wilson would have finished with our factorization and solving. You have finished completely, Ms. Wilson? Go ahead and respond. Are you hearing me, Ms. Wilson? You can lower your hand now. I'm not hearing you, Ms. Wilson. I'm not sure what is happening. You can lower your hand though. Anybody else is hearing me?
Yes.
Ms. Cabrera, you hearing me, right?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Green, are you hearing me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. It seemed like Ms. With some connection wasn't so good, so she's logging in back. Ms. Wilson?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you weren't hearing me before, right?
No, sir. So I had to log off.
All right. All right, so I was asking if you finish solving completely.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anybody else finish solving the question? Ms. Green? Okay. All right. Let me give Ms. Cabrera and Ms. Darty, Mr. Lamar a chance.
Welcome.
How are you? How far are you, Ms. Cabrera? Is some finished? Okay, Ms. Darty. Oh, Mr. Arty finish. All right, can lower your hand, Mr. Arty. Ms. Caveira, you say you finish?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Lamar,
Yes, sir.
you finish?
No, sir.
Okay. Are you getting anywhere, Mr. Lamar? Because I want to go ahead with it now. All right, guys. So let us move on. Don't want to spend too much time doing one thing. All right. So here we know this quadratic situation where you have the coefficient of x squared would be 1. Once you have this case, what you need to do is to find two numbers that multiply to give you the last term. When you add them, you get the coefficient of the middle term, right? Now, the fact that the last term is positive, the two numbers that you're looking for could either be two negatives or two positives. Now, the sign of the middle term tells you what the two of them are to be. So the two numbers that you're looking for are going to be two negatives because the middle term is negative and the last term is positive. It means that the two numbers are going to be negative. So the middle term tells you what the signs are. If the middle term was positive, then the two numbers that you're looking for would be two positives. All right, so in other words, which two numbers that we multiply to give you a positive 6, or when we add them, we get negative 5. So two factors of 6 would be?
-3 and -2, sir.
So 3 and 2 would be two factors of 6. Because the middle term is negative, it means that the two factors have to be negative. So -3 and -2. And you could go ahead and put these 3x and 2x here and then work it out. But if you want to do it in a shortcut way, you could just write 2 brackets and start both of them with the x. So you would have x in this one, x in this one, and then you put the two factors beside them. So you would put -3 and -2. And those would be the two factors equal to 0. Is that clear, guys?
Yes. Yes, sir.
No, that's a shortcut. But for CSEC purpose, they want to see all the steps. So please put in these and show your workings. All right. But if you want to just if there's no indication that they need you to show the working, you could just go ahead and do the shortcut like this. All right. So if you find the two factors to be this, so we can either say either x -3 equal to 0 or x -2 equal to 0. So that's our statement. So next we are going to say when x -3 equal to 0, we simply just solve by bringing over the 3. Therefore, x is equal to +3. When x minus 2 equal to 0. Solve just the same way, bring over the minus 2. Therefore, x is equal to positive 2. So the solution would be x is equal to 3 or x is equal to 2. All right, so you could conclude by putting hence x equal 3 or x equal 2. So that's a conclusion. All right, was that what you get for your answers, guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. All right, so you're all on point. Dorothy, what did you get?
Sir, I get
Yeah.
the same x minus 3 equals 0. And x minus 2 equals 0. That's the conclusion statement.
Yeah, but you remember that you're solving.
We
So
solve it as
x is equal to what?
x minus 3 in bracket and x minus 2 in
No,
bracket equals.
that's the solution. The solution is when you actually find a value for x. So just leaving x minus 3 and x times x minus 2, that's not the solution. All right, Dorothy, you have to give.
No, sir, I work it from top. That is the answer that I got.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, you have to use these and equate them to 0 and find the actual value for x. So in one case, I equate this to 0. The next case, I equate the x minus 2 to 0. And then now you solve by bringing over the values. So x would be equal to 3 or x equal to 2. That is the solution. If you don't do that, you're not going to get full marks. Are clear?
Okay, sir.
Yes, so you have to do that, Dorothy. All right. So is that clear to everybody? Raise your hand if everybody is okay. All right, good. All right, so with that said, guys, so once you factorize, you get that. So either x minus 2 equals 0 or x minus 2 equals 0. When x minus 2 equals 0, x equals 3. When x minus 2 equals 0, x equals 2. Therefore, x equals 3 or x equals 2. So that is your solution. All right, so here we have another one, and it is done in the same way. All right, now you factorize and you get 2x minus 3 bracket 3x plus 5. So you equate 2x minus 3 equals 0 or 3x plus 5 equals 0. When 2x minus 3 equals 0, you solve. So x would equal to 3 over 2. When 3x plus 5 equals 0, you solve again. X is equal to minus 5 over 3. And those now will give you your solution. X equal to 3 over 2 or x is equal to minus 5 over 3. All right. So that's how we solve when we are factorizing. All right, let us see if we have any more. All right, here we have another situation. Now this one is not in the form of the trinomial, but instead you have two terms. But notice that this one, you have a common factor. So this one, you'll have to factorize by the common factor x. So you take out x as your common factor. So you say x into x squared give you x, x into 5x give you minus 5, minus 5x give you minus 5. And so this is how you factorize this one, guys. Is that clear? And so you have two factors equal to 0. You have the bracket equal to 0 and you have x equal to 0. So either x equal to 0 or x minus 5 equal to 0. So when x equal to 0, then x is equal to 0. When x minus 5 equal to 0, then x equal to 5. So that's your solution. Any question, guys? Raise your hand if you're following so far and you're understanding. All right, good. All right, so these are some questions that I would want you to try, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave the question until I'm finished with the other examples. So if we even run out of time, you can try the questions after class, all right? So you will go through this exercise when we are through with the other examples. All right, as well as you can attempt these two as well. All right, give me a second, guys. All right, guys. Sorry about that. So we said that we're not going to go into the solution by completing the square. So what we're going to do, we're going to move on to using the formula. So I'm going to just skip through these. All right, so we're going to be looking at the formula, guys. Give me a second. All right, so this is what we call the quadratic formula. And the quadratic formula, we generally use it when, sorry. All right, so we generally use the formula when your quadratic expression or quadratic equation, if the quadratic equation or expression cannot be factorized, then you have to use the formula. So what you have to do is first memorize the formula. Now, if you notice in the formula, you have the letters B, A, and C. Now, when you go back to the general form of a quadratic equation, remember that the quadratic is in the general form of ax squared plus bx plus c. So it means then, from the general quadratic form, sorry guys. You'll have to determine what B, A, and C are. So once you find what B, A, and C are, what A, B, and C are, you just plug them in the formula, calculate what is under the square root sign first, and then you do the remaining of the calculation to get your answer for X. All right. So let us look at how we can use the formula. So let's say that we are solving this quadratic equation. You may try to factorize it and realize that you can't find any possible means of factorizing it. So now your result is to use the formula. Now, what you would do from the question, you would have to determine what A, B, and C would be. So the 3 in front of the x squared would be the A. So A is the number in front of the x squared. Yeah, and so B now would be the number in front of the x. So A would be 3, B would be equal to -8, and C would be equal to 2. So what you're going to do, these values, 3 as A, -8 as B, and 2 as C, you put them wherever those letters are in the formula. All right, just plug those in now and try to do the calculation, and then raise your hand when you're finished, guys. I'll give you about 3 minutes to try. Nobody is finished as yet? Anybody? All right, let us go through it together. So when we compare these, we note that A is equal to 3, B equal to -8, C equal to -2, sorry, C equal to +2. So we plug these values in the formula like that. But we need to work out under the root sign first. So we do the square. We square a negative, we're going to a positive number. Then we multiply the 3 times 4 times 2. So this is going to be a negative number. So we'll get something like this. So we'll get 8864. 4 times 3 times 2 will give you a -24. And 2 times 3 give you 6. All right. Now, continue to do the calculation under the root sign. So you take away 24 from 64. You will get 40. Then you will find the square root of 40. Then you will get plus or minus 6.325. Now you're going to do 2 scenarios. So in one case, you're going to add the 8 plus the 6.32. And then in the other case, you're going to subtract the 6 and then you divide by the 6. All right, so you will get something like this. So either you're going to have 8 plus 6.325 divided by 6, which give you to, when you do the calculation, you get 14.325 divided by 6, which is equal to 2.39. Or when you subtract the 6.325 from the 8, then you're left with 1.675. Then you divide by 6, and then now you will get 0.8. So those are the 2 answers for X. So X is equal to 2.39 or X equal to 0.28. All right, guys, so I'm going to ask you to try these. Let's try a few of them. First 2 or so. All right, guys, go ahead.